Hi, Chris. How you doing, man?
Anthony Franco, how are you on this Monday?
I'm not doing well. I'm trying to figure out how to tell my brother why he can't mail watermelon with food stamps. I'm not having a good morning.
I'm
How you
so
doing,
sorry
man?
to hear that. So you can't send watermelon with food
With
stamps.
food stamp, yeah.
Yeah, that's with food stamps. That's pretty good, Anthony. It took me a second to get it because I was waiting for the punchline, and then
I'm waiting for the funny part. I was waiting
for the funny part to come in.
Brilliant. Okay.
Well, I would say like B- on the dad joke opening. I don't know. Maybe it's good.
I'm not looking for a grade. I don't tell them for you, Chris.
Really, dad jokes are all about whether they make me laugh.
Exactly right.
Telling the joke.
Exactly right.
Anthony, who controls your client deals? So a shocking statistic, 73% of agencies lose profits to client overreach. Zapier's Wade Foster asks the client to preserve a team autonomy. Today, we're going to be talking, Anthony, about how to handle high-value clients. Again, we were joking before. Neither you or I have ever had a high-value client. And so
nor have we been a
we
high-value
really have
vendor.
no idea
Yeah.
about how to do this. So it's going to be great that we have some guests to talk us through that. I am Chris Franks. With me is Anthony Franco. Just really looking great this morning on a Monday, Anthony.
You, Chris.
You lie. And we have probably the highest ranking people we've ever had on the show because they are Emmy-winning filmmakers. Mr. Michael Ayjian. See, I've already screwed it up, Michael. It's like even right off the bat. You told me that, and I won't say Steven Skeel, co-founders of Seven Wonders Cinema. They transform content into video content engines for big brands like Mercedes, Disney, other Fortune 500 brands, and their cinematic campaigns have driven valuations from $25 million to $1 billion. That's a lot of money, proving that maintaining creative control with big clients isn't just possible, it's profitable. All right. So this is the way I want to start the question, Michael and Steve.
All right.
Why does this? Oh, first of all, welcome. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Hey, what did you guys think about Anthony's dad joke? Was it like,
I still don't understand it, and I feel like I'm stupid for not understanding it. Michael, did you get it?
I didn't get it either. I'm not a dad, so I don't get it.
Neither am I.
Yeah. Maybe I think it was just real. All right. So the first question is, should I? I've got an agency. All of us kind of dream, particularly in a startup agency, is that we want to go after that big logo, that big client that not only we could put on the front page of our website, it's going to make us look really cool, but also they're going to pay us a ton of money and just feed us work. Should I start to go after that big client? And let's take the hypothetical that I should do that. Why should I go after this big client?
Well, that's a good question. Why should you? Well, number one, credibility. Credibility speaks volume, but it's the chicken or the egg, right? Always. It's hard to land a big client without having a big client. So it's which one is going to be the first one to trust you. That's the thing. And then once you're in, it's like a little club where they all talk to each other. So because there's only 500 of them, right?
Yeah, I was going to say a Fortune 500, I assume they're in place once a year.
Exactly. Oh, you work with this company. Oh, yeah, I know them, blah, 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 blah. So it's sort of like a club, but how do you get into the club? It's really hard. Lucky break, really. That's what it comes to. You have to be good, timing's right, and get a lucky break, which you're fortunate enough to have that. So some of it is working toward it. Some of it's just luck. And that's really what it comes down to. Steven, I don't know if you have anything else to say.
I'd say credibility is the main thing. And but I think that absolutely a degree of luck is important in landing those opportunities. But I think when we started our business, which was 10 years ago, we were always thinking of what are the stepping stones that we can put in front of ourselves to get to that level. Like if we wanted to work with a national car brand, can we work with the local one and no one has to know that it was just the local one, and then we step and make it look like bigger than we are. You
work with the Ford dealership. That's smart.
Yeah, but then you say
that's not luck.
Ford.
No.
Right.
You guys said you have to be lucky. No, you have to be creative.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Funny story about a Ford dealership specifically. When we were first trying to get clients, we were literally just knocking our head against the wall. Where can we go? And Michael and I were walking down the street, suburbs of Philadelphia, where we're both from, and we saw a Ford dealership. And I said, let's just walk into that dealership and just say, we're a video production vendor. We'd love to make a local car ad for you guys. We walked into the dealership. Michael is a very good salesperson, no shame, just walk up, just flat out straight up rejection, like rejection after rejection after rejection, like, nope, sorry, nope. And I think you have to go through a lot of no's, that's for sure.
I mean, yeah, that is for sure. I mean, especially when you're going after these big companies, you're going to hear any company really, I guess, because some of the companies we went after were little peanut companies when we were first starting too. And, you're going to hear no so many more times before you hear even one yes. It's like our increased volume of yeses is maybe like 2 out of 100 versus like when we first started, it was like 2 out of 10,000. So, you just hear no most of the time.
I think it really introduces a really interesting point, which is when you're starting out, and you guys started out, 9-10 years ago, you're trying to get some sense of credibility. You're going to hear no from small people.
Yeah.
Like walking into Disney or Mercedes or something like that is really incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
So, this idea that you can open up your doors and people are going to recognize your brilliance and just hire, whoever the current head of creative is at Disney is just going to be like, you guys are the ones. Like, I know you don't have any reference customers or even really a good portfolio, but just, I can sense that you're brilliant. It's a little bit of a myth that we tell ourselves. Do you guys agree with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I always say there's two costs, right? There's the cost to actually do the work. And then there's the cost if the work is screwed up. And the cost if the work is screwed up is a lot more than the cost of doing the job itself. So saying I'm going to do this for free, no one cares. It's not in their best interest to get something for free, because if it's free, it's probably not that good. And then the backlash they're going to get, they could lose their job. So it's like, what's the incentive there? Their incentives to get the person who they think is going to perform the best for the job and has the best track record.
Yeah.
So you basically have to build a track record to get there.
I would say the caveat to that is like, you can do, like, it depends on the brand too, right? Like when we were first starting out, for us, it was really important, especially in video, to develop a quality portfolio. And some of that was music videos, for example, at the time were big. And we did some of that because it's like, we can do that for free, but no one has to know, and the artist benefits from it, but it's not like a brand that's going to have backlash type of thing. And then from that, it was smaller commercials for people that we got introduced to, and it wasn't free, but it was like super low budget stuff that might be for a regional, clothing brand or whatever, that sort of thing. But to Michael's point, as you start to climb up the ladder, we were trying to at first find opportunities with these big Philly-based brands, which is where we started. Like, oh, maybe if we did this for free for XYZ Fortune 500 brand that's based in Philly, they'll love that and give it. It's like they don't want that. They want the best vendor for the job. They don't want a freebie. So I think it depends on kind of the level. Like there is ways to.
I agree with that. Yeah, there's at the lower level you can do it for free, but when you go to the high level, when we're talking really big clients, cost isn't as much of a lever until there's a range of bids coming in. They can afford all of them. It's more, what does your bid look like? What's the track record? Is your team going to vibe with their team? So how are you communicating? Those are the things that become more important than the cost once you get to a certain level.
I have a question for you on that, because you said free is there's cost around free, but I know a lot of big name brands in your industry, they would call them a bake off, right? Where they ask you to do some upfront work for free in order for you to, quote, prove yourself to the brand. I know there's like, would you talk through that? And what's your philosophy around participating in bake-offs?
Like you're talking about like the Doritos Super Bowl challenge or something like that, right?
No. So more for you guys, like, hey, we're considering 5 creative agencies to do this work for us. Here's a quick creative brief. Show us what you can do for it in order to participate in the RFP. Like part of the RFP is to do some free work for them.
Yeah. Well, we don't really do free work necessarily. We might put together like storyboards or something like that. And there are costs associated with that, but like, or maybe style frames, but that's like the maximum amount. We generally try to avoid that by the type of agency that we are and the way that we function. But other companies, that's their entire business model is to do that. So it just depends on how you function.
I also think it depends on the nature of the work too, Anthony. Like, it's not that common for us to get asked by a bigger organization who wants to do like a big live action video campaign for us to do anything like in relation to the final deliverables for free. But like Michael said, and you said, storyboards or creative development, that could very well be part of the process. But for other aspects of our business, like we run video podcasts for clients on their behalf, in those instances, since the barrier to actually producing that type of content is significantly lower, you might do a demo recording and output a clip or 2 for free. And that can prove viability of the format. Like, so I think it comes down to the type of work that we're doing. But I would agree with Michael that we don't, other than storyboards and maybe ideation around a campaign, beyond that, we don't often get asked to like create deliverables for them per se for free.
All right. So this is the question, and Anthony, I want to hand it to you. So I think that what I'm hearing here is that as you're starting out, trying to build towards a big customer is really the right avenue. And so I love the idea that you started with a local Ford dealership, knowing that you would love to work with Ford long term, and that every one of those steps along the way was the direction that you were trying to get to, or the destination you were trying to get to.
Yeah.
Anthony, when you were doing Effective, huge, ended up being a huge agency. Is that how you did it? Did you start with these smaller projects, or did you walk in the door and just say, hey, we're the only people that can do these big projects, and we're somehow managed to get through that gate?
So the way I started Effective was I was a subcontractor for another agency and worked on some high profile gigs that I then leveraged the brand names that I worked for as the quote jumping board or the leapfrog into my own agency.
Sure.
So that's you can land a big name client yourself, or you can be creative on how you are able to use that logo that you've worked for. As you absolutely don't want to lie, but you can. But your company per se doesn't have to be the one that has inked the contract with the big name client.
To add on to that, I think that's a great point. I would add on to that, like the way that we got some of our big initial clients in healthcare, like brand name healthcare clients, was by working with smaller brands that aren't as recognizable that had partnerships with those larger brands. Like we worked with Blue Shield, and it was one of Blue Shield's partners that we did a testimonial campaign for. Effectively, that allowed us to have that brand on our portfolio because the work was for them, even though it was through a smaller company. And then that gave us the relationships and the opportunity to talk to the decision makers at the bigger brand and say, hey, we could do this for you too. So I think obviously drive value at every phase. It's not like climbing in a way that's bad. It's not like social climbing and you're trying to use people. That's not it. It's you want to drive value at every level, but knowing who is in the network of the next person that you're working with, and then that hopefully can help you build to get to where their relationships are and start to drive value for them as well.
Stephen, what I heard you say, and I think this is, so I'm going to rephrase that just a little bit and tell me if I've got it right. If you're going to do work for big name clients, you have to have big name client quality. You need to be, you need to be able to provide the value that is expected by those larger brands.
Yeah.
Otherwise, don't do it yet. You're not ready yet.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and if you flub it, that becomes your reputation too.
Exactly right.
So you don't, what's the saying? It takes decades to build a reputation. It takes 5 minutes to ruin a reputation. So,
yeah, and I ruin my reputation weekly on this podcast.
I was going to say, that's just really should be the subtitle of this podcast. So I want to ask the inverse in a couple of moments, but let's assume for a second that you started your company like y'all did, and you were trying to work towards these big brands, and you now have worked with these gigantic brands, big high profile projects. Why would I want to do that as a founder? What has been the benefits for you? Obviously the trust and credibility of being able to say, if you work with Mercedes, you get to work with somebody else, or Disney or another huge brand. But as far as the overall business is concerned, has it been a good and fruitful decision to go down that road?
Yeah, I'd say there's consistency in big companies. There's profitability. I remember when we first started working with big companies on a more regular basis, I was so used to people like nickel and diming us. I remember saying like, oh, this is going to cut into our profit margin. And they said, well, then make sure to charge us more. We want to make sure you're making money. And I'm like,
wait, I'm sorry, what did you just say?
So like, and you can have smaller companies. We have some really small companies we work with now, but it's all about how we approach them. That's different. It's a mutual sharing of value, which I'd say was something that we learned from working with these bigger companies. Is there are people who value you out there. There are people who value your services out there and will price. You have to meet the price with where they are at also. But once you find that combination, there are a lot more businesses. They're not just the large companies. They're smaller companies too. Like some of my favorite clients are the 3 to 5 person companies that aren't that big, and we can just talk directly to the founders of the business. That's awesome because we're helping them in a more tangible way than helping these big companies. The big companies are nice because you get the logos, you get some cool stuff. You get to say, hey, we work with Mercedes, or hey, we work with whoever. But that's really the best part of it. Yeah. And the contract sizes. Other than that, I mean, the small companies are more conversational in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I heard consistency. I heard margin. You can actually build maybe a financial projection, which is really hard early on when you're just trying to eat what you kill. What else? Like what else, Stephen? You got any others that why I should consider really building up to these top tier clients?
Yeah. Well, and I actually had another thought about another way that we landed a big logo, which was like sometimes these brands will kind of offer up competitions of opportunity. This also goes to it wasn't free, but it was like a low cost thing that Expedia did a while ago, which was awesome to participate in, which is like they were doing a tourism campaign and you just had to submit a creative proposal for like the city that you wanted to represent and like make a video about what's great. The whole idea was the like not like the off the beaten path sites. So like Philly, not the Liberty Bell, not the big stuff, like just stuff underneath.
The Rocky statue.
Yeah, we did feature the Rocky Steps, but it was more of a transitional element. It wasn't like the main attraction. But it was like a really low budget thing, and like they really wanted just creators to like kind of submit a proposal. We won the opportunity to represent Philadelphia, and I remember that we were like, this is our opportunity. We are going to make zero money on this because we are going to make this the best freaking video. We're going to blow them away with the budget. We're going to pull every favor. We got, you know, the most reputable reenactors who portray Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson. We were filming like all around, like we went
Oddly, they owed us favors.
Like, you know, we cashed in a lot of favors, and the video is just turned out so well, and it became a calling card for other work also, and got us the logo with Expedia, and like really propelled us forward. And that, I think, is maybe a combination of what we were talking about earlier, where it's like we weren't just offering free work. Like, we did get slotted in and we were getting paid, but we're like, we're just going to rev this opportunity way further than it could go.
That's a good point, Stephen. And the other thing to add to that is, even now, a big part of what we try to say is always over deliver, not under deliver. If a client is paying you for something, always over deliver. Eventually, the amount of money they pay you will catch up with how much your work you're doing. That was something my parents, I think, told us early on. My parents own pest control business, totally different, but they always provide a lot of value for their clients, and eventually it catches up. It takes a lot of time. You know, a founder, when they start a business, really shouldn't be expecting to make very much money for the first 5 to 10 years almost.
Or 20 or 25. Anthony.
Mostly
about what we do. So I think
I derailed your question, Chris, so I apologize.
I think it's been a really interesting piece to say, if you go towards it, there's a lot of value in these high profile clients. And what I heard you say, Michael, is that the high profile clients also give you an opportunity to have better lower end clients as well, because that logo will then help you a little bit further down and choose really fun and more entertaining.
That is a great point. That is a really great point. And like, a lot of times people will come to us and say, well, I don't have, you know, Mercedes money, but I blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, you know, a lot of our clients are paying us an equivalent, you know, are paying us well that are no name. So
the no-name clients a lot of times pay us the same amount as these Fortune 500 companies. It's not like our services are any different. They're exactly the same for both of the businesses. The Fortune 500 might buy a little bit more, but that's it. So
it strikes me, as you guys, we were talking before we came on, that you've moved into the podcasting space as well. You've been able to demonstrate that you could tell a great story. You've been able to demonstrate the fact that you have a knack for narrative structure. And then that then becomes easier to even go into a different line of business, is just having one really high profile client. Anthony, anything to add just as far as thinking about building towards high profile clients, and what were the steps that you guys went through as you were doing that? And I want to, again, start to ask what are the problems there, but anything to put a point on this part of the conversation?
No, I think I'll give you a good transition to the problem. So the trap can be that logos are a vanity metric. And you wind up getting caught in chasing opportunities because of the logo rather than the opportunity that's right for your business.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the conventional wisdom that I thought when I started my first agency, which was, hey, slow sales cycles will kill small companies. And it's a really difficult to get people in bigger companies to say yes. And so I needed to start smaller and work my way up, as you were saying, because just the cash flow, yes, they're going to pay a lot more, but it's going to be really hard to keep my company alive as I build towards whatever that 12 to 24 months sometimes sales cycle can be in big companies. Has that been your experience, or has it been something different?
Let me weigh in, and I'll let you guys weigh in. That is not necessarily true, because you might be going for, let's just use random numbers here. You might be going from $5,000 to $50,000 budgets. So a $50,000 budget for your current clients might be a lot, but a $15,000 budget for a Fortune 500, that might be part of their discretionary spend.
Yeah, they
So
might
they
be able to
may
do that
be
with credit card. Right?
You may have a lot easier time getting a $50,000 gig from a Fortune 100 than a $10,000 budget from the local Ford dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Agree or disagree?
I agree with that. I don't think, I mean, some of them, the sales cycle are longer, but some of them we have signed on the dotted line after 3 phone calls. I mean, it's the same as these smaller companies. I don't really find that the sales cycle is that much longer. I just find, well, there is consistency in it, but there's also a level of like, okay, we need them to sign, like, and almost like an impatience to like, okay, there's a lot of planning and prepping going into this. When are they, if they're not signing, when are they finally going to sign so that we can get started? Because we have like all these resources waiting to make this happen. So
yeah,
that's definitely, as we transition the conversation into like the con of working with a larger company, is you almost need to be larger to work with a larger company in a lot of ways. Now, that's not saying you have to be a huge business, but you know, if you have a really small shop, you might be too reliant on them, like any individual client, to really make it work. I feel like it's a mutual unreliance almost. It's like beneficial in some ways.
yeah.
The first really large Fortune 500 client that I signed, I sent them my normal agreement, and they're like, "Yeah, that's cute. That's really cute.
Yeah.
It's really cute." And I go, "Hey, you know, we really like to be paid in 30 days." And they're like, "Yeah, that's cute as well. It's like net 6 months."
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Net 120 was our
Yeah,
first.
and it's just like, holy crap. Yes, it's an incredible client, but my cash flow is going to be really, really difficult because I'm doing the work now.
That's
I'm not gonna get paid
that's
for-
definitely a negative. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to think about that when you're taking on big clients, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
All right. So what else? What are some of the other challenges, Stephen and Michael? What are some, like, classically, I think sometimes we think that bigger clients can be harder to work with. In your experience, true, not true? Is there a correlation there?
I think the project management's just harder. Like,
Yeah.
it's more bureaucracy. That's
Yeah.
the main thing. I don't know, Stephen.
I would say, like, going back to the sales cycle thing, there are definitely instances where the sales cycle is a lot longer. Like, oh my gosh, like some of the procurement can take, we had clients, it took 2 years to get approved within their system. But to Michael's point earlier, I think it's sometimes the smaller companies, their budgets mean so much to them that they take way longer because they're just so concerned about budget allocation. So like, I think it can be both. And then to Michael's point about downsides, project management, they demand a lot of attention and they want responses right away. But you know, smaller companies can do that too, because again, it's such a big percentage of their budget. I think the biggest concern is just there's so many eyes on it that there can be so many stakeholders that can confuse things a lot. You don't always have clarity on like what is good, like what is especially in a creative field like us, like we think something's great and then some chief person from some other room comes in and says, I hate it. Like, let's redo the whole thing. And we're like, oh.
Like classically in any creative agent, like any creative thing, you can't design by committee.
Right.
And sometimes, I mean, but you guys have to weigh through that in some sort of a sense of the project management. Is that how it works?
Yeah. I mean, we've also had projects done before where the CEO of these huge companies or CMO might be like, who gave the direction on this project? And we're the ones, like when you're a vendor, you're the fallback. So you have to be the professional one to say, hey, in a really nice way, hey, this is the internal person who gave us this direction and this is how it went. We're defending them. They made a great decision. We think this is great. If you want us to change it, we're more than happy to you have to really be tactful and political in the way you have these conversations with these big companies. Like we've had some where we've sent the final version and the CEO was like, we made a video. And it's like, yeah, we made a video. Your team signed off on me. Like, it's like, that's happened more times than more than 5 times probably. And it's like, that's not in our control. That's not really in their marketing team's purview either. It's like these companies are just so big, things get lost in the shuffle. Like they might get executive, these companies might get 300-400 emails a day. So it's like, how do you manage that personality to make sure you have to make sure not one decision maker is happy, but you have to make sure like 5 lines of decision makers are happy with these big companies. That's the worst part to me.
I'm reading between the lines here, but I want to, and Anthony, I want you to confirm or deny this, which is you get into doing this field because you guys are incredibly creative, visionary filmmakers. And sometimes you have to deliver stuff that might not be as high quality as you want because you have to get consensus. Where if you have 5 people in a company all around the table, you can talk to everybody at one time. That's easy to get. And that vision can be shared and you can sit down and share the vision versus in those bigger companies. Like Anthony, I know we've talked about this in the past. Sometimes you had to do worse work to get it approved through the hierarchy of approval processes when you work for big companies.
Yeah, there's 2 things. There's 2 things to that. One is absolutely true. Design by committee or decision by committee always results in poor decisions in design. And Michael and Stephen, I know you can't say that, but that is because
that's why I asked Anthony to do it. Yeah, exactly. You guys, that's why I made Anthony.
The other cost that many people don't recognize is that lower quality of work can have a negative impact on your team culture. And so the way I always used to, so it comes down to bureaucracy, right? And one of my favorite analysts used to work at Forrester. I'm not sure where Ron Rogowski. He once told me, if you ever want to know how unorganized a company is, just look at their website. And so I took that to heart. And what I started to do when bidding out projects for big companies is I went to their website and I counted how many links at the top there were. And then I took my cost and multiplied that by the number of links across the top. And that was my bid for them. So the more unorganized they were at the top, the more my bid would be. Just that was the back of the napkin way I used to bid projects out, because bureaucracy always makes the project go sideways and cost a lot more money.
Yeah.
Except for Stephen and Michael, I know every one of your clients are perfect. They're amazing. They work with you guys. This was just a hypothetical. For
we're very fortunate to have really great clients, but we've definitely dealt with our fair share of difficult ones.
Yeah,
too.
I will say our current patch of clients that we have that we're working with, and I'm not just saying this, is amazing.
You said that we were really good looking before the podcast started.
Yeah.
I just say you guys are the best looking podcast. So
It's true. And this audience is the best audience.
Yeah, the best audience is the best audience.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true.
We have kissed a lot of frogs though. So.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think after 9 years, you do sort of develop kind of an instinct for that.
Yeah. And look, sometimes they're the ones to cut you, and afterward we're like, that actually ended up being a blessing in disguise. That wouldn't have been a great relationship in the long run anyway.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
It's like a relationship. It's like dating. That's what ultimately business is in a weird way. It's like, you have to find a client and a vendor that are compatible. And then in that way, it's like,
it's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah, exactly. That's the case.
So, I mean, the title of the episode is about the power struggle and like what, how handling these high value clients. But I think we've given some good reasons to at least consider what are the complexities when you choose to go up. So we know that maybe not necessarily time as far as the sales cycle might not be quite as big of a deal as we thought, but there's cash flow issues. There's certainly complexity of account management. There's complexity as far as delivering product and really wanting it to be your standard. Any others that any of you, including Anthony, can you think of as far as the complexity? What is that power struggle? What is it that's difficult operating in that space?
I mean, I would add to that too. a more complicated sales process, not in terms of the length of time, but in the things that you have to speak to. When you're speaking to a smaller business, you can usually just tell them a story or show them an example and they'll be satisfied with that. But a larger company, they like design by committee, also decision by committee. So you have to make sure 10 people will be happy with your sales pitch, not just 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the main challenges that I found is like,
yeah, the whole, okay, that's a great sales pitch. Let me talk to my supervisor and I'll get back to you. It's like, wait, can I talk to them? Because I know you're not going to present the information.
Yes.
Right. That is a killer. That is a
And
killer.
even though that every person that's gone through business sales training, you try to identify everybody that needs to say yes, try to get them all together in the room, all the kind of fundamentals. There's always seems to be one hidden person. It's like, oh, well, then there's Bob.
Yeah.
And Bob's got to say yes to everything. Any other complexity, Anthony, you want to add?
Contract review.
Mm.
So your contracts with large organizations, a lot of times their legal department will try to make your agency an insurance policy for all the risks associated with the work.
Yeah.
So you indemnify them for anything wrong that is said or pisses anybody off ever. And even
In
though
perpetuity,
they may direct you to
70
do the
years
work,
right?
into perpetuity, and all patent and trademark and copyright infringement, and that's really not appropriate. So get a really good lawyer that knows what they're doing. I'll say it. Shout out to Brad Gross. He was awesome for us. He's still doing that work. But yeah, get a really good lawyer and really take the contracting process seriously.
Yeah, that's really good point. Because that is so true. Like what you were saying, Chris, earlier about here's my SOW, and they're like, that's great. We're going to put the project terms into our SOW. And yeah, can be not great for you if you don't have a comb over of it. But
so we need to get to the speed round.
Did you say comb over in front of Chris? Did you really say that? That was not kind.
I'll be okay. I want to. So, I guess here's the question, and then we'll get to the speed round. Is can you do this with these high value clients? Can you maintain some element of control and power within working for these big clients? And if so, what is the one piece of advice that you would give anybody that's going down this road?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I would say there are definitely concessions that you need to make, and ultimately the client being happy and getting what they need is the most important thing from the relationship. So don't try to force your creative vision on them if they don't want it. But I'd say being the expert in the thing that they need most and don't have at their immediate disposal, like that is where you get to have control and have the playground to really build what you want to build, because they just say, oh, they're the people that know what they're doing within this area, so we can let them do their thing. That takes time. That might not be on the first project you have with the client, but as you develop a trust with them and a rapport, consistently delivering in that regard will give you more and more ability to make some of those decisions.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Trust is number one. If they trust you, you can influence a lot more decision-making internally too. Like some of these companies can treat us as internal parts of their team. You know, all the decision makers, you can have conversations with them. Ultimately, what benefits them is what benefits you. So you want the client to be successful because that means that you're successful. Like I always say that I'm working in their best interest. It's not like I have some ulterior motive. I don't, because if it doesn't turn out well, they're canning us. So I want our product to do the best possible for them. So
I think the things that strikes me about that is you just said it takes time. It is not something where you walk in and just day one be like, hey, we are so genius. We're so brilliant. Yeah. We're so amazing. You guys should just defer to everything that we say. You may get a week of that on a new project where they're like, hey, these people are really smart. And then it just starts to defer over the time. But the long-term Ideas trust. I really like.
Unless
it.
you're
All right.
college roommates with the SVP at American Express, which that happens a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In which case, yeah, or have some sort of good blackmail material, which
Yeah.
maybe you should look into it. I think it's terrific. All right, gentlemen, are you ready for the speed round?
As ready as we'll ever be.
That was particularly loud speed round today.
That was really
I don't know.
loud.
That really just kind of blew out the eardrums. We just see everybody that's watching. Just everybody leaves.
No, eyeballs went up. Eyeballs went up. That's good.
Yeah, people just paying attention.
Great.
All right, gentlemen, speed round. Just answer with what you think first. So let's do on my screen, Stephen, then Michael. You ready?
Okay, let's go.
Set boundaries or build trust.
I'd say build trust first. I think am I allowed to elaborate? How does this work? Do I?
I mean, it's speed round, Stephen.
Okay. I'd say build trust. Build trust.
Hey, all right.
I
Michael,
agree. Yeah, I agree.
Push back or compromise.
Compromise.
Michael.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You guys.
I'd say
working
both
together.
are important in every scenario, but which one do you do first? So
Yeah.
Walk away or negotiate. Great question.
Oh, well, Stephen knows my answer.
I'd say negotiate for sure.
Through and through. I
Is
took
there
the
a time that
negotiations.
you walk away? Like
Yeah, there absolutely is.
Absolutely.
My mom and grandfather, or my mom said that my grandfather used to say this about dating and then pass it along to me and said, like, if you are gonna you have to be willing to walk away if something is just not working. And I think that, like Michael said, in the sales process, it's a lot like dating and finding that compatibility. So there is a point where you have to be willing to.
And
that's the only reason we've gotten to 116 episodes is because Anthony and I haven't walked away when it hasn't been working. It's because we just keep going. Document everything or stay flexible.
well,
I don't know.
think the two can go together.
Dumb question is what you're saying. I like it. All right, so I'll re-ask the question. Be more systems driven or be more creative and agile?
Ooh.
I'd say creative and agile, but that one I'm not as certain on. I don't know.
I'd say that 50-50 on that one.
Lead with expertise, your expertise, or client preferences?
I say lead with expertise. This is what works, but be flexible to client preferences. So, you want to show them that you're the authority, but you don't want to sound like a jerk. Like,
Michael, I look forward to voting you in the next election. What a
Well, I'm going to add one quick thing to that. You don't want your lawyer to ask you what your defense is.
That should be a little bit of a red flag for you.
Exactly right.
Gentlemen, really fun conversation. I learned a lot. Anthony, what did you take away?
All right, I have quite a bit here. So on the how to land big clients, one, have a big name client. Two, do work for a subdivision or a small unit of a big brand name so you can kind of leverage it. Have a strong portfolio or track record or case studies so to show that you can actually do the work. Or do favors for people who can impersonate Benjamin Franklin. There's risks.
I have that question, which is, what possible favor could you have done for Benjamin Franklin to make him dress up in a Benjamin Franklin outfit?
I don't know if we're out of time, but I can explain.
Yeah.
You sell it in like 30 seconds?
It wasn't sketchy, I promise.
Yeah, it was basically there's like a nonprofit that puts on these reenactments, and we did free video work for the nonprofit and like filmed them doing some of their presentations. That's what it was.
Unbelievably.
All right,
good.
and the risks. So I have some risks written down. So risks working with a big client, obviously payment terms, project management, and bureaucratic management. Everything's made, lots of decisions by committee. They play kick the vendor. There's longer and more complicated sales processes, and you need to get a good lawyer to review your contracts and to negotiate for you.
I think that's pretty good stuff. Deep dive resources. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, like one of the all-time great books. Art of Negotiation by Michael Wheeler. Influenced by Robert Cialdini. That is just still one of
that's
my
a good
favorite
one, yeah.
books. And then Getting to Yes by Roger Fisher. Anthony, before we go on and talk about where we can get in touch with these gentlemen, we have to wish our co-host a very
happy birthday. Yeah, Stephanie,
is-
happy birthday.
Oh,
Stephanie's she's certainly not listening to this nonsense.
She's not.
But because she's just like, she's so much.
She is 5 tequilas into a 10 tequila day, I think.
That's exactly right. Exactly. Well, so happy birthday, Stephanie. All right, gentlemen. Deep dive recommendations. However, we want to learn directly from you. Where do we find you? Where can we get some great knowledge?
Yeah. So if you want to find our website, it's 7wonders.com, the numeral 7 wonders.com. We have our own podcast on our YouTube channel, which you can find 7 Wonders Cinema on YouTube, and Instagram and Facebook at 7 Wonders Cinema as well. That's the best way to find things that we're putting out. So yeah.
I think that's terrific. Will you now be instituting dad jokes into your podcasting?
If we can come up with ones that are as good as the ones that you guys shared. I don't know.
I was gonna say,
You said you didn't get it. You said you
we
didn't
set the
get
bar low.
Yeah,
So-
but I'm just assuming that's because it was so good, it was over my head, and I just need to go research it after the fact.
Turns out that's never been something going over people's heads is not something we typically do.
Michael, Stephen, thank you a ton. Thank you all for listening. Thank you very much. We actually had a really good conversation today. Please be sure to visit us at howtofounder.com, where you can connect with us on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify channels. And as always, Chris and I, our guests, and Stephanie too, we feel that you're the pioneer of economic prosperity, and we're so grateful to be here along the journey with you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, guys. Bye.
thank you.